Hello there, Matthew Miller, and yes, on this video. The reason why I'm doing this video, because here in New Zealand, we have a Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, rushing a bill in to bring forth a police state. And you will know what this bill is. It's about allowing police powers to search anyone's home without a warrant, just in the name of telling us to social distance. And I'm going to go to this bill now before I really watch this video. Let's go there, and there it is there. And this is under section of orders that can be made under this act. A. Requires people to refrain from taking any action or contribute that are likely to contribute to the risk of spreading the outbreak of COVID-19, or require a person take any action or comply with any measures that are likely to contribute or preventing the risk of outbreak or spread of COVID-19, including without limitation requiring a person to do any of the following: to stay in significant place or refrain from going to any significant place, refrain from associating with significant people, significant people or person, and to stay physical distance from any person in any significant way. Refrain from traveling to or from any significant area. Refrain from carrying out any significant activity, for example, businesses, activity involve close personal contact, or require significant activity to be carried out or in significant way that compliance with the significant measures. To be isolated or quarantined in significant place or any significant way. To refrain from participating in any gatherings or of significant kind, like in significant place or in significant circumstances, and or report any medical examination or testing in a significant way or any circumstances. Wow. And I know people, I'm going to probably put a link down here for you to read the bill. And boy, wow. And let's go down to section 20, power of entrance. There it is. And this is the scary part, people. Enforcement officer may enter a home without any warrant, without a warrant. Enforcement officer may enter without a warrant, and that means without a warrant. Any land, building, craft, vehicle, place, or thing they have reasonable ground to believe the persons failing to comply with respect of Section 11. So they don't have to have the evidence. They can just say they believe you're not obeying the social distancing. They can believe you're infected. They don't have to have any evidence. They can just believe that you're a risk to any person. I think this is going to be people who are not going to yes to the agenda what our Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is trying to put in. And people, this is scary stuff. And the reason why she's rushing this in, she's trying to get this in by Thursday tomorrow. And she is hoping to get this in. We may not be able to stop it, but I am there to do this video to inform people about this bill. And this is why it's going to be on YouTube, and I know YouTube's going to probably take this video down because I'm there to inform people. And I know, but I also have a Bitchute channel, and just in case this video gets taken down off YouTube, which I am expecting it will, because I am there to speak out about this bill. I'm there to do a duty, and it doesn't. We are not there for praise, for views, or anything. We are there to get the message out. And let's get to this part where this bill is where this Father Michael Woodward saying, I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but We'll be having a link down there below. So let's get started.
Given what we heard about what level 2 would look like. And so they're going to pass that bill. But not even the Minister of Health knows his own legislation, because he said in his speech that he will have to consult with the Director General. Actually, the bill doesn't say that. It says quite the opposite. At subclause 2 of clause 9 on page 5, when making a section 11 order, nothing in this section requires the Minister to receive specific advice from the Director General about the content of a proposed order or a proposal to amend, extend or revoke an order. So he doesn't need to consult the Director General, and not even Dr. Clark knew that. And so now we have, well, he says he doesn't have to have regard to it, which means he can ignore advice. Well, that's actually pretty consistent with the pattern that we've seen over the last few weeks. So the Prime Minister...
point of order, the Honourable Dr. David Clark.
Point of order. Mr Speaker, the member is mischaracterising my response, and I'm not sure what remedy I have for that.
Well, that's a debatable point, so members can debate those points.
Well, people, this doesn't get any more challenging, and that's the reason why our Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is trying to get this bill passed. And now I am going to go to another video about and speech 11, and I'm going to watch the whole thing. Let's get to it. This is about the Maori Day. I'll get to that one soon. There it is, right here.
Our freedom of association.
Let's get back to start.
We don't give up our freedoms lightly. Our freedom of movement, our freedom of association, our freedoms to gather and meet with like-minded people, our freedom to start a business and to work hard to make a living, our freedom of religion and to worship or not to worship, our freedom to mourn the loss of a loved one. And Mr. Speaker, this bill cuts to the heart of those freedoms. Yes, we know we must give up our freedoms in times of a national emergency to unite to achieve a common goal against a common enemy, COVID-19. We know that this may need to be done for a temporary period of time, but we don't give up those freedoms lightly, and we don't give up those freedoms permanently. And when we do give them up, we don't give them up without some level of proportionality. Mr. Speaker, this bill, the COVID-19 Public Health Response Bill, is not a proportionate response to COVID-19 and the threat it provides. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to focus on a number of areas. Firstly, in highlighting how this bill is disproportionate to New Zealanders. This bill is one of the most extreme pieces of legislation to ever come to this Parliament. Under Clause 11 of this bill, the Minister of Health and the Prime Minister will have the ability to substantially affect every area of New Zealanders' lives. The ability to refrain people from associating with specific people, to enforce physical distancing rules, to prohibit gatherings of specific kinds in specific places, in specific circumstances, require isolation, prohibit things from entering or permit the entry of things into any port or place. The freedoms, but also the impact that this bill has on our society is extreme. And I go back to the point I made at the start. We understand that we give up our freedoms temporarily, but we don't give them up permanently, and we don't give them up without there being some form of proportionality. And Mr. Speaker, when you have such extreme legislation in place which gives such extreme powers to the government, there is always a risk of those powers being misused. And we only need to look at what has already been announced by the government over the last week in regards to...
Well, you hear what he actually said? It says if those powers must be if it's going to be misused. Well, of course, this bill is about allowing the police to enter our homes without warrant. And yes, I think it is going to be misused as well, because that means they're going to take people out of their homes if they're not social distancing. You heard what the the WHO official actually said, now we need to go in those homes and take those away and put in a quarantine in a significant manner. That's from WHO's official's word. He said it on the video. And it's on YouTube and what the World Health Organization really said. Well, let's just continue from here.
What a level 2 will mean to see that these will be misused. You look at the example, Mr. Speaker, you can look at the examples of weddings, of funerals, of tangi, of church and religious services, which last week were told could have a maximum number of 100, and now are being told that they only can have a maximum number of 10.
Here we go, people. They're going to tell you, say, well, we're going to tell you you can only allow to have up to 10 people. Yeah, he just said it. And yeah, and boy, it doesn't get any clearer than that. Wow, I'm going to continue on.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to read a letter that I received today from a funeral director in my electorate, who said that we currently have in our care a well-known local gentleman whose family visit most days to sit with him. They were hoping level 2 would allow them to hold a farewell at the club in honour of him. Now they're having to rethink this due to the level 2 announcement. This is one of many families from varying cultures in our care that have been waiting for level 2 to hold a service.
Simon Brown.
They feel let down and confused as to how to move forward. This is not only an unfair change to the rules, it's not only a misuse of the rules, it's an inhumane use of the rules, and it is an untrusting use of the rules.
Exactly. Simon Brown, exactly.
New Zealanders have been told to be kind. New Zealanders have been told that the government trusts them to make the right decisions. But now when it comes to level 2, we're being told, no, we don't trust you to hold a funeral and to physically and socially distance that period. And we've heard speakers argue and say, well, you can go to a cafe, a restaurant, a cinema, a school, and we trust you there. But we don't trust you at one of the most important moments in life, which is actually death, a moment of grief, a moment where people come together to remember their loved ones. Mr. Speaker, I come also to the area of church and religious services, and these have also been limited to 10. And my colleague Nicola Willis mentioned the consistent...
Yeah, as he said it, say you can go to churches, but you can have a church, but you can only allow up to 10 people. He said it, and boy, wow, man, let's just continue from here.
With the New Zealand Bill of Rights and the Ministry of Justice advice, and how this advice didn't even touch on the freedom of worship under Section 15 of the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act. And I quote Section 15, every person has the right to manifest that person's religion or belief in worship, observance, practice or teaching, either individually or in community with others, and either publicly or in private. And the advice didn't even cover that fundamental right, and I find that abhorrent. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I'm someone who goes to church every Sunday. And we've done the right thing. We've held our church services on Zoom, as have many other churches up and down the country. They've had live streams on YouTube. They've played their part. And most churches aren't big churches in New Zealand. Our church only has 50 people. We won't be able to meet this Sunday under these rules, as will many other churches across New Zealand. Mr. Speaker, these rules go to the heart of what it means to be a Kiwi, and I find it abhorrent.
This guy's awesome.
Mr. Speaker, it comes down to then the enforcement of these rules, and I find these provisions extreme. The powers in this bill under Clause 20 give enforcement officers the ability to enter any premise and close it at any time. It gives powers to the police to enter any premise, anywhere, at any time to ensure people are following the rules. They could enter your home, they could enter your business, they could enter your most sacred place, your home being your castle, at any time. It is no longer sacred under this legislation. And then the ability to fine you and potentially imprison you. Those are all powers which this bill has in the law, in the bill here. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I come to the area of safeguards, because when Parliament puts in place legislation with this, with such extreme provisions, the question has to be, where are the safeguards? Where are the safeguards in this piece of legislation? Well, it has a 2-year time limit. 2 years. This piece of legislation will be in place for 2 years. And I understand the government's looking at making that 3 months at a time. However, that is still an extremely long period of time. And this Parliament will have the numbers, without the opposition having to be part of that, to extend that 3-month period every single time. This bill has a number of occasions where it says the Minister must have regard to any government decision on the risk and consult the Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice and any other Minister that the Minister of Health thinks fit. Have regard to. Consult. Those are words which are so weak you could drive a bus through them. And the opposition, the leader of the opposition, is not required to be consulted. When we go through a time of national crisis, we should do that together, and we should have both the government and the opposition playing an important role in that. And this legislation does not provide the opposition any single area where it can have influence over the decisions which are made by the government or the powers. And I heard David Seymour speak about the ability for judicial review. Judicial review is available, but how much does it cost to take a case to court? You hear people in the government speeches constantly talking about the cost of justice in our country. And now they're saying, if you want to stand for your freedoms, you've got to take a case to court under judicial review. Where's the freedoms? Where are the checks? Where are the balances in this piece of legislation? So, Mr. Speaker, this is not a proportionate piece of legislation, and I oppose it alongside.
Wow. That is awesome, Simon Brown. Thank you for the message over in the Parliament body. Thank you for that message. And man, that is such an awesome message. And Simon Brown, I can't thank you enough for it. It's time that we move on to the next message. And yes, this is from another lady here. This is a Maori lady, and she's there to speak about. I'm going to let you decide on this and see what you think of it. The people, there's a Maori lady over in New Zealand. She's speaking also against this bill, and let's get started on this.
There in live, I just want to alert and encourage you to watch what's going on in our government. So I'll just wait for a few people to get on. We just listened to Honourable Alfred Naro, and I just thank this man who is Rarotonga.
Yeah, Alfred Naro. Yeah, there's probably another man that's also stepped up as well. I don't have the time to sort of find and look it up, so there's a lady that's speaking out, so I'm just going to leave it from here.
But standing up for the Maori people, who is standing up and making a stand that when we went into this pandemic, this COVID-19, that we were trusted to shut our marae, we were trusted to abide by the laws, but as we speak right now, they are in government passing a law that can say that police do not need warrants to get into your own dwellings, to get into your own housings, to shut everything down. They can come onto your premises without warning. They are pushing this through as I speak right now. There is a debate going on. I encourage you all to go and watch Alfred Naro, who actually stood up for the Maori people, because as they are making these laws, we're trusting the teachers that our children are going to be safe at school. We are trusting who? That, you know, pubs allowed to open, restaurants allowed to open, you know, and it goes back to trust. But on the legislation that they're pushing through tonight, on page 3, they have written that marae cannot have tangihanga. Why is marae in there? Why are they coming against the marae? And the Maori leaders, now I love that Alfred challenged the Labour caucus, the Maori caucus, to stand up and fight for the rights of Maori. Because if we can have trust on any other issues but not on our own marae, that the leaders of our marae can't follow the rules, yet in level 1, level 2, level 3 and 4, I should say, level 3 and 4, we abide those rules. But now the legislation that they're putting through on page 3 is stating, and marae. So I encourage you, if you're listening, you got to watch what our government is doing. You got to be awake, stand firm. Arise, New Zealand. This is about our generations to come, that they can pass this law. So they are trying to pass this before Thursday, that they can barge into your own dwelling without a warrant. The police can come and do whatever they like. Is anyone awake out there? And that the marae, they can't trust our marae elders to follow protocol, and they're pushing this through as we speak right now. Maori, where are you? Mary, I see you standing up there. They don't trust Maori enough on the pai to follow the rules and regulations, and yet this is put through in the legislation. I don't know about you, but I am wild up. I am wild up of what our government is doing right now. And I just thank that Honourable Alfred Naro, who is actually standing up for Māori, who is actually standing up and saying something. He just got off a couple of minutes ago. Go and listen to it yourself and see how this man is fighting for our rights. Come on, New Zealand. Come on, whoever's out there. We trust our kids to go to school, and we trust that our teachers are going to look after our children. We trust that, you know, the gyms are going to abide by the rules. We trust that the supermarkets are going to keep the 2 meters distance. We trust that they're going to keep everything in order, but we're not allowed to return to our marae. Come on. This is not right, New Zealand. And I urge the church, arise, stand up. And Matthew 24 says, stand firm. So, man, this is shocking that this is going down in our nation. In our nation. You know, while we're going through a shutdown, they put through the most inhumane bill that you can kill a baby up to 40 weeks while everyone's singing Kumbaya. Come on, we need to stand up. We've got to start being awake and alert of what is going on in our nation. You can't trust the funeral directors. When someone has lost a loved one, you can't trust the funeral directors. But you can trust the publican. You can trust a restaurant manager. You can trust the supermarkets. But you can't trust a funeral director to help someone grieve in their time of need. Oh man, I'm so upset.
Wow.
So go and listen to Parliament right now, and it's empty while they're trying to push this through. They're pushing through law and legislation as we speak. So please be encouraged to thank Alfred for standing up. Us Māori, go and stand up. You know, this is, well, it's not even a Māori thing. It's just what's right.
Yes.
You know, you can play rugby, which is rugby, 15 aside, but you can't open up your church and you're only allowed 10 people. Now, we were out on the front line delivering food parcels to our Pākeke, to our youth, the churches, and who I see driving around, the Church of Gisborne, driving around delivering food parcels, but they can't trust us to keep 100 people in our congregations?
Yeah.
Does that sound right, New Zealand? Does this sound right? You can go to a gym and you're allowed up to 10 people, 100 people in the gym,
Well,
and you trust that. We get a little email that says, please sanitize in, sanitize out, sanitize the equipment when you get off and get out, but you can't go to church? Where is our rights?
exactly.
It's so wrong. And I'm calling
Yes.
out, it's wrong. It is real wrong. So this year,
Exactly.
please make your vote count. Make your vote count.
Exactly.
Make your vote count on who you are voting in. Well, that's my rant for the night, but go
Yeah.
and listen, man. This is just not right. They're pushing this through while we sleep.
Exactly, and I know for me, when I'm going to edit this bill, I ain't going to blur her face, just so she has privacy. She does have a right to not to be seen, and I ain't going to blur her face so her identity is protected. So, well, people, she is white. And Alfred, if I can find that link, I ain't going to link it down below for you to watch. So, now, it's time to move on. And yes, I know I got my own video here. And yes, and also I'm going to blur all those over there as well. So people's identity is protected. So, well, let's get to it now. And yet, they want make social distancing a permanent part of our lives. Yes. Yep. I'm going to read a part from here. Humans are inherently social creatures, and this is not going to change. Exactly, we are social creatures, people. And the police are trying to enter our home, tell us to stop being real human beings. That's what they're there to do. And that's what this bill is about. Trying to end what is mean to be a human being. And do you know what? We are not going to put up with it. We are not going to yak yes to this bill. We are not going to yak to yes since. And I know we may not stop this bill, but I am making this bill to inform you people. This is what it's all about. I'm not there to get views or praise. I know there's Maori lady there that I've shown you. She's not probably there to give you to get praise or anything. She's just there to get the message out. I know it's with my claiming that it's just to know that she is doing a well for New Zealand. And I am doing my part as also getting this word out. And now it's time that we move on now. And yes, of course, they did put us in a cashless society. And yes, it's all part of the elite's plan. And I see around like cafeterias and stores saying they're not accept cash here in New Zealand. I'm saying that now. As I went to the supermarket, they still accept cash, but when I about to go and get a coffee, and I saw a sign, no cash, FOS only. And I decided not to support the business because I'm not going to support their acquiescence to their cashless society agenda. This is what it's all about, and let's go there. Coronavirus is used to scare you from cash. Exactly, it's all part of the elite's plan. Cash has been a target of the banking and financial elites for years. Now the corona pandemic is used to frighten the masses into accepting cashless society. This is what it's all about. They're there to scare us. This is what it's all about. It's planned, people. It is planned. CBS News and CNN and other mainstream media are fear-mongering again. Of course they are. Of course, alarmism is nothing new in the media world, but it is this time. It's not about trigger pampering or even pushing a political agenda. This is more about, this is a war on cash, people, and I see businesses in New Zealand are yakking yes to this. They're yakking yes. and they are surrendering themselves to the cashless society. That's what they are doing. And I see this, and this is all part of the Chinese blueprint, and yes, so what it's all about. And yes, of course, they got robots here. Look at that. A metalhead DARPA robot enlisted by police to enforce social distancing. And yes, they got this. The move to using robot law enforcement and private security to even scare away the homeless. What? This is actually more than telling us to social distance. It's about scaring the homeless away. Yes. And soon, look at that. And look at that. Let's see it.
Let's keep Singapore healthy. For your own safety and for those around you, please stand at least 1 meter apart. Please stand at least 1 meter apart. Thank you. For your own safety and for those around you, please stand at least 1 meter apart.
Yeah, that's what you said, what the robots say. Stand at least 1 meter apart. Well, if they're going to provide pregnant tank, well, we have to stand at least 2 meters apart, so it's twice that.
Thank you.
But New Zealand, stand 2 meters apart. This is for your own safety, stand at least 2 meters apart.
Please stand at least 1 meter apart. Thank you.
Yep. Here we go, people. There we go, and there's more. I'm not going to really watch it all. This is a lot to go through. But there's no that, and they might start bringing that out here in New Zealand, perhaps soon. I'm not sure, but they could be doing that. And, well, I am going to move on to here, and this is from Terry Osborne, and yeah, he's a good fella in COVID-19 Australia, New Zealand police state, and yes, we are going to be in a police state very soon. If Jacinda Ardern gets her way, which she is likely will, and we are going to be seeing a lot of that, and I'm going to go through that now.
Yes, folks, both Australia and New Zealand are effectively police states right now. Now, New Zealand is more of a police state in respect to anyone who opposes Islamic immigration, whereas Australia's police state right now seems to be more in respect to COVID-19. And that young woman who had her 4-year-old child ripped away from her by the police in Sydney a couple of days ago is a classic example of that.
Yeah, and that's what the World Health Organization says. Now we need to go in those people's home and take those children away and put in an isolated area in a significant manner. Yep, that's what the World Health Organization really said, and that's what those policemen, or those in the police force just did. They took the kids away, which we're about to say.
This woman was walking with a sign protesting against the lockdown with some other people, and she was arrested for not giving her personal details.
Arrested for just protesting and exercising your freedom of speech, which we all free to do. And that's what I'm doing this video for, because I am exercising my freedom of speech. Although it may get taken down, but it will be on Bitchute.
And for not social distancing properly. Now, I've posted 2 videos of that incident for full context purposes. And hat tip goes to Spitter Stalker and Kiwi Traveller for those videos.
There it is right here. Let's get to that.
You took an oath under the constitutional law to defend the public. You're not doing that. I don't know how you guys can go home in honour tonight and try and infringe me with a notice which I don't consent to.
I see what
we're doing nothing.
Get the volume up.
You guys should be here holding the signs with us, defending us. So I don't consent to what you're doing. Okay? I don't consent. We're acting safely.
And there's a child over there.
We're not acting in aggression. So I do not consent to giving my name. There is no name to give. Exactly. Am I under arrest? Am I being detained here? No, I was trying to speak to you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So I'm not under arrest, am I? You are not being detained?
Yeah, he says, the woman said, am I under arrest? Then the female officer said, no, you're not. Well, let's get to what the part's saying. Oh, frickin' heck. Wow. Look at what the child's, he's probably screaming. And boy, he is going through some trauma. For crying out loud. For crying out loud, people. They're doing this to this poor young woman and also to this poor young child. For crying out loud. This is so wrong. And this is probably over in Australia because it looks like the policemen are over there are actually in Australia. Still got a child there. Oh, crying out loud. Now I can see the sign there. And there's a woman recording awesome stuff. Oh, there's a child there. Mum's still got her child. She's about to take off very soon. Crying out loud.
Yeah, this is a nasty piece of work, all right.
Indeed. Yes! Give that bitch heaps. Sorry.
Go girl, you give her heaps.
Yes.
What has she done? Look. She hasn't done anything. No, you. That is his mother. He needs to be with his mother.
Wow. Oh, the guy's trying to back this personal life. Going up now.
Now you can see the police have the kid here. Now,
yeah, there it is. That's the child. There it is, right there. The police just took their child for crying out loud. I'm not shouting because this is so horrible for this woman's going through and for what this child's going through. And boy, shame on those people that did this to them. Shame on the police over there. To the police over in Australia, if you're involved in that, shame on you for trying to prohibit a mother exercising her freedom of speech and taking away a child just because for a mother exercising her freedom of speech. Shame on them for doing so. It is absolutely wrong. And I'm opposed to it.
the next video shows the kid being pulled away by the police a lot better.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to show the next video. If you really want to watch this video Frontier old pines, and yet it's a good video, and more. You can see my reaction. It's just horrible, and yes, it's just horrible. Well, let's move on. Yeah, and they're also about to bring in police from facial recognition technology without clearance, and yet they're going to just put it up anyway. And this is what they need when they bring in the social credit score, and it's coming soon. And this year, it's coming. They already got in China. China was a warning. I showed it on Eco Liberty on my video. It's on my website. China was a warning to you. What's about to come. And police are going to put in facial recognition without clearance. And that's what they need to bring in the social credit score. And it's telling what they need to bring in the social credit score. 5G. And they need the 5G in for the social credit score to work. And yeah, the Radio New Zealand had learned that the police had constructed a trial of facial recognition software without telling their new boss or talking to the private commissioner. The American software Clearview AI is used by hundreds of police departments in the United States. It's effectively a search engine for faces, a brilliant for crime fighting tool to identify both criminals and victims. Wow, people, it's not going to be just about tracking down criminals, it's also going to be tracking down those who don't go along with this tyranny, people. And for crying out loud, people, this is really twilight. It actually gets even worse. For Facebook, they're now saying warning people who like or react to fake coronavirus news, and it's those who are speaking out against the tyranny. And yes, and yet Mark Zuckerberg is also a person that's just going along with the elite's plan and censoring those who don't go along with their narrative. And yes, and they say, yep, Facebook announced Thursday will be saying a warning news if they have lied or reacted comment on harmful COVID-19 posts that companies have found to be misinformation and removed. Wow. So they're just going to take down those who don't go along with the narrative. And well, people, that's all I've got to really say. Let's just move on here, and there's a petition from National Petition Government 10 limit people discriminate against funerals, wedding, and religious service. And yet, this petition on the Parliament to reject the government discriminatory acts of 10 people limit at funerals, T.M.K, and weddings, and religious service. Wow. And this is from their national website. I'm not a fan of national, but at least we have one national MP that spoke out as Simon Browns. Yeah, and here it is from change.org, and there it is right here. No to the proposed COVID-19 response bill. And yet, there is people, and if you're in New Zealand, I'm best your advice to sign this as well. And boy, people, I'm so disheartened what I just saw on that video when the woman was exercising her freedom of speech, and the woman got arrested, and her child got taken away. That was so sad, very sad, and that's why I showed you the video. And yes, we're going to be seeing like those that are here in New Zealand. If our Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern gets her way. That's why I'm doing this video, people. And I know I got this fine message on Facebook here, and I'm not going to really play it from now on, but I'm just going to really end it from here, and but it will be on my Facebook profile, and yeah, it's just horrendous what I just watched out. Boy, it is hard. And yes, she's rushing to get this bill passed by Thursday, and she could have it passed in any hour. And for crying out loud, and it is not going to be great. It's not going to be good, and it is going to be so disheartening. But people, we just gotta stand firm, and we gotta. Now it's time that we gotta get together, and we can no longer be complacent. The longer we remain complacent, it's more likely Jacinda Ardern will get this bill passed. So, people, this is all I gotta say for now. It's Matthew Millett, sign off, over and out.